Hello, kiddies. Meet the Joker.
Straight out of Hyper Time, you got your host, Joey Galvez, here from the MCDC podcast, where we talk about the big two, Marvel Comics and DC Comics. That's what the MCDC stands for. So this week I've got Bill Bere from the Too Old, Too New podcast on, and we're going to talk about Justice League #1, Batman 48, and we've also got Brian Michael Bendis' Man of Steel #2. So... And this week we didn't get to our Marvel books. We're just going to give quick shout-outs to them, so hopefully you guys weren't blocked. So let's just stick around and listen to the show. We'll get some good stuff out there for you guys, all right? So let's welcome Bill to the show here, and let's play that beautiful music. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of MCDC Podcast. This is Joey Galvez, and I'm here today. I finally got Bill Bere from the Too Old, Too New podcast on. How's it going, Bill?
It's going great. How's it going, Joey?
I'm doing pretty good, man. So we've done this a couple times, and we've actually kind of had a ton of technical difficulties, but hopefully today we'll get this going.
We have failed miserably.
Yeah, as they say in the Arrowverse, you have failed. You have failed this city. So I got you from well, let's give a little background. I met you through the Slack chat from the DC. We got our buddies over at the Weird Science DC Comics podcast, and through their Slack chat, we kind of talked a little bit, and we kind of got together, and we figured, hey, let's do a show or two. And that's where I found you. And then I got to listen to your show, and I enjoyed that. And it's actually a pretty cool concept. Can you give us a little background about your show?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Yeah, Too Old, Too New podcast has been around for about 2 years. We had a little blip in the road there where we didn't record maybe for 6 months, but since the beginning of this year, we record every month, and now we're about on an every 2-week release basis. And we talk about an old comic book and a new comic book. Each of us, me and my co-host Seth, talks about an old and a new comic book that we enjoy, and just discuss it, why we enjoy it, what's fun about it, that sort of thing. It's not really a review podcast, so we don't give it a rating or anything like that. It's just fun comic talk, basically.
Right. I think that's pretty cool. I listened to a couple other shows that kind of do like a history kind of thing, and that I like that concept. It's actually kind of fun. And it is a little bit more refreshing because there's books that you pick and that you enjoy, and there's sometimes, it's not like my show where I pick a few books and then there's maybe one or two of them that I don't like that much. So I think that's kind of a cool concept.
The other thing I've done 2 episodes of what I call podcast crossover. Okay. And I've got a podcast host from a different show and had them on and basically had them give me the background of how they got into comics, the background, how they got into podcasting, and then for them to pick a book that they love, that when they got into comics, this was the one book that they really love. And then we discuss that, and that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's cool. I think I listened to the one where you had Jim Warner from the Weird Science DC podcast. I listened to that one where you had something of that nature. Yeah, that was fun. Hard to get a word in edgewise there, but yeah, that was fun. Yeah, Jim definitely, he's been doing this for quite some time, so he knows his way around a podcast.
Yep, absolutely.
So I wanted to ask you, I had a couple of questions. So how did you get your start with the podcasting and your show and things of that nature? Let's kind of flip it around. Since you do that with other people when you have them on your show, I'm going to do the same thing. Let's ask these questions. So go ahead.
I guess it was back in the mid 2000s. Okay. And I just had gotten an iPod, and I had put some music on there, and on iTunes, the program on the computer, it has a podcast section. I didn't even know what a podcast was.
Right.
So I did a search, and I found a couple comic book podcasts and starting to listen to them. And it's like, all they have is a microphone, and they're just talk. I mean, some of them were pretty professional, just talking. So I tried it out myself. I think my first podcast I did one episode of 2008. It was just myself, and it was called Gotham Knights. And I did one episode I talked about, and it was like, I didn't get too. The feedback I got on the one episode wasn't too great.
I know a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was actually pretty awful. So I kind of stopped. And then a few years later, my first love is Batman and the Batman books. And I was on Twitter.
Same here.
And this was around 2011. And I'm like, anybody out there interested in doing a Batman podcast? And I got an answer from somebody. And we came up and it was right before the New 52 started, and I said, let's just start with the New 52. We'll talk about all the Bat books. And we were called the Bat Pod, and we recorded pretty solid for, the first year and a half, and then we kind of got sidetracked. A lot of it had to do with the quality and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And then my buddy Seth was actually a listener to the Bat Pod, and then we decided to get together for a podcast, and I had done the Bat Pod off and on for a few years, and then we came up with this. We didn't know what we were going to call it when we initially started recording. This is our first episode. We don't really have a title. Couldn't think of anything, but then as the episode went on, one of us said Too Old, Too New. It was like, next time we'll talk about Too Old, Too New comic books, and then that's how the title sort of stuck.
That's actually pretty cool. That sounds very similar to how I got my start. I was a listener of many different podcasts, and I kind of got inspired, and I kind of put my feelers out there too, and I was like, hey, anybody want to, podcast with me? Because I had a buddy that I worked with, and we kind of just, I'd drive him home from work at night, and then, we'd end up just talking about comic books and comic book pop culture and, TV shows and what we were watching on Netflix that week and things of that nature. So I was like, we could probably record this and turn it into a podcast. And I was like, this is kind of cool. Maybe we should do this. Maybe we should start recording. So we started recording. And so it kind of just blossomed from there, kind of a thing. So we started recording, and then he recorded maybe one or two shows with me. And he's kind of a youngster, so he got involved with like video games and playing tournaments and stuff. So now he kind of went off and did that thing. And now I'm kind of stuck by myself doing this, and I had the same thing. I was like, well, I'm not getting much of a feedback. What's going on? So I got in the Slack chat, and I said, hey, anybody want to record with me? And I only got one response, and it was you.
Just one?
Just one, and it was you. So nobody else said, hey, let's do it. But I got tons of people saying, hey, man, good luck, keep up the work, good work, kind of a thing. But I only got one response. You were the one that emailed me and said, hey, man, I'm interested. Let's do this. So
yeah,
here we are today.
I love podcasting. I mean, I don't do it enough. I mean, there is some work to it. You don't just turn on the computer and start recording. You need to do some homework. One of the biggest things that I've noticed as far as feedback, the more often that you record, the more feedback you actually get. If you record once a month or less, I've found that the feedback won't be there. You just don't record often enough. Now that I'm recording every 2 weeks, we got our first iTunes review. We've gotten emails. I mean, in the first year and a half, we didn't have any of that.
That's cool.
Or maybe the quality is going up. I don't know. But I spend a little extra on my show. I have an intro that somebody recorded for us. And I actually, between, segments of the show, I add in, like, audio. I add in, like quotes from movies or TV shows, that sort of thing, that are sort of comic book related. Sometimes they are and sometimes not.
Right. And it's pretty cool. I do enjoy it myself. It's pretty fun. It's a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
Right. So today we've got a few different books that we're going to be talking about. I've got Justice League and you've got Batman 48, and we're going to talk about Brian Michael Bendis' Man of Steel #2. So, what was your first I know you really like Justice League. What was your first take on Justice League when you read it?
I guess my first take was I read it once.
Uh-huh.
And there was a lot to take into this book.
Right.
There were a lot of things going on, but there were some callbacks to different things that I really enjoyed.
Uh-huh.
For instance, the old TV series / cartoon from like the 70s, Super Friends. And then near the end there where we get some sinister characters, I enjoyed that too.
Right, yeah. I was talking to you the other day, and I was telling you, I grew up, reading comic books and things of that nature in like grade school, and there was a big chunk of my life where I kind of stopped reading them, and then I picked it back up again, like towards the end of like the New 52, the Future's End kind of thing, and that's around the time when I started like picking books up on my own and things of that nature. So there was a big chunk where I didn't read a lot of books. So some of these callbacks, to the stuff that they're talking about, I didn't really catch. So this book was a little bit lower of a rating for myself just because of those things. But if you are a fan of all those awesome callbacks that they reference to in this one, I'm sure it's going to be a very high rating for you. So should we just jump right into it?
Yeah, let's jump right in.
All right, so we've got Justice League #1, and we've got Scott Snyder as the writer, Jim Chung on pencils, Mark Morales on inks, and we got Tomeu Morey on colors, and the price is $3.99. So, in the first few panels, we got 5 different panels here, and this was kind of a cool thing. And I know I'm going to ask you here a couple questions of if you remember these characters here. But we got something that looks like a very large fiery comet, and the second panel reads 85,000 years from now, and we see a handful of superheroes that look very similar to our Justice League. Did you recognize any of these people? I know I recognize names, but it didn't really...
In all those panels?
Yeah.
Yeah. The 85,000 years from now, it looks like that's an Hour Man or a version of Hour Man.
Right.
And then as you go down 85,000 years ago, that looks like the Monitor.
Okay.
The last... what is the boy? The last...
Commandi or...
Yes, Commandi. That's who that looks like. And then once we get the final panel, that looks like Highfather, the Phantom Stranger.
Uh-huh.
And this says it's Hera, so one of the mythical
and then
gods.
We've got Appa Aliapsa down there. The guardian of the Green Lanterns.
Or is that Ganthet?
I took it as
because Ganthet has a ponytail.
Okay.
And I can't quite tell if he
Can't
has
really
a ponytail
tell. So
or
I
not.
took it
So
as,
it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
They're all
it could
blue.
it could be either or. So.
Yeah.
So we've got these different panels here. 85,000 years from now, 85,000 years ago, and then 5,000 years from now, and then it reads now, right? So now we are in Washington, D.C., and we see the Hall of Justice for the first time in quite some time. So I know you got really excited when you saw this panel. Give me your little. What did you feel when you first saw this?
Well, there's a lot of emotion as far as that goes because I grew up watching Super Friends, and that was their main headquarters, and they brought it into comics before the Hall of Justice briefly. That was pre-New 52, but this is the first time we see it post-Free Flashpoint, and yeah, it's pretty exciting. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, and we also... There's some callbacks into the newer cartoons as well. I know my son watches Young Justice, and I think they kind of call back to that as well in there. I'm not quite sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, whatever. But yeah, this is kind of cool. They talk about how what it took to build the building and all these different materials that they use that are. It's kind of cool. They even say that even at night it's pretty much lit up and things of that nature. They talk about passages and doorways and special doorknobs that only the Leaguers can access and things like that. Talk about how they kind of contemplated try to figure out which suits they were going to line the hallways, and they just ended up putting everybody who was ever in the Justice League. So that's kind of cool that we got this kind of, this,
yeah, it's kind of neat.
This insight. I'm pretty excited to see what they're going to do with this Hall of Justice here. All right, so, and then now we switch to what you and I both kind of talked about this, and we kind of thought this could have been like some training session, kind of like a holographic training. Because of how how Martian Manhunter calls out to them, and he says, "Just
sort of like the Danger Room from the X-Men."
Right. That's exactly what I was thinking as well.
Right, when you first get introduced, they're like the Subterranean Theater, the Aqua whatever Theater, and you think, "Oh, is this all training section?" But it's not. They're not in training. They're actually on different missions. So,
right, and that's what I thought too. You had to continue to read to get that. And they are fighting a special kind of Neanderthal who has been influenced to fight in these different theaters, and they fight each of the Leaguers on these different fronts. So, they pertain to the different, like we got that panel where Hawkman and Hawkgirl and her team, they're flying around, and we got these Neanderthals with jetpacks on their back, and we've got some of them in the water with Aquaman and things of that nature. So,
and this is the callback, which I thought calls back to like Justice League Unlimited, because you see the different teams led by a Justice Leaguer, and you see some side characters that you don't normally see. And that's how that whole series worked. They pulled whoever they wanted to pull into a certain mission to do different things. And as we're talking about this and saying, exactly what's going on, we thought it was one thing, but it's another thing. Scott Snyder, as a writer, the one thing you got to understand, you don't just read it one time and be able to comprehend what he's saying. He's sort of like Grant Morrison as far as that goes. And you got to read it several times and to get the gist of what's going on. Because some of the ideas that he puts, or maybe it's too many ideas into a story that, you have to sort of talk through them.
Right, I have the same feeling. So
he did that a lot in the Batman, in this metal, I don't really understand. I didn't comprehend exactly what was going on with metal. So hopefully this is more accessible than something like that. But
right. I hope it doesn't get a little diluted. So now we see in the next panel that Martian Manhunter is hovering above Earth, and he is mentally linked each and every Justice League member so that they can communicate freely. So I thought this was kind of cool, that he's strong enough to link everybody and talk to them and keep that connection and still, be aware of everything and kind of watches over them. So this kind of gives you that insight that he's their leader at this moment. They all, voted him in, I guess.
He's a powerful leader. He's had this position before previously when they sort of did away with him when the New 52 started and inserted Cyborg. And he's always been with the League associated, especially the JLA run with Grant Morrison.
Right. And they very vaguely speak about how his absence, and he's been away for so long, and they said that he was trying to search out himself, I guess. And it's pretty vague on where he was, so...
It has something to do with his family. I don't know if he's trying to come, his family had died, and you see a flashback there and a few panels there of what happened to his wife and daughter, and if he's coming to terms with exactly what happened or the grief or that sort of thing.
Right. So we get that kind of a callback to that. So, but now, here was the funny part. Now we see a panel where the Earth's crust breaks apart. And I know you had something to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
If the Earth's crust is breaking apart, so would the majority of the big cities. There wouldn't be not too much left of anything. Just visually, this panel doesn't work too well for me personally.
Right.
Because it looks like the whole
There's millions
Earth
of people,
is in
of
pieces
just
and everything.
died.
Yeah, millions of people died.
and they just kind of it's just kind of like one of those things they just brushed away.
Yeah. It doesn't there's a couple things in here like this that it happened and you're like, "Oh, that's a big deal." Right. But it seemed to be okay, this happens. Just like the Man of Steel movie where they destroy Metropolis.
Right. And then
I don't know. That panel doesn't work for me too well. I had a problem with that pretty much immediately, especially the visuals on that.
And I had a problem with that Man of Steel movie too, and then they kind of like touched base on it, like in the Batman v Superman movie, where like Batman's like, hey, he destroyed all kinds of things, but then halfway through the movie you see Batman just mowing down sides of buildings and flipping people's cars. I don't know. That's a whole different podcast.
Yeah.
So after this Earth's crust starts breaking apart. Not only does millions of people probably die, now they got this genius idea to blow up the moon? ? Or part of the moon or something on the moon. Another one of those things that doesn't make sense to me, because if they blew up the moon, wouldn't that mess the whole thing of, don't we rely on the moon? It's crazy.
I don't understand exactly what their purpose is. That's another thing. Just some of the dialogue. The moon, its molten iron ring, has become a solitron to pull the crust. So apparently something with the moon is pulling the crust off the Earth. And they need to destroy it.
So, and they're not very clear on what they're destroying on the moon, or is it the moon itself?
It sounds like they're destroying the moon.
So,
which
the moon is a big part of how we survive.
Yeah. These little things that are thrown in here, it doesn't help. As far as the rating goes for the book, these kind of things to me are like head scratchers.
Right.
But, I guess they talk this out with, editorial when they're writing this, and editorial has to bring something like up. You're destroying the moon.
Right.
And it's one panel that the description of what the moon is doing to the Earth that they're destroying. That's like a big deal.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
So that happens, right? So John Jones is heading over to the moon, and this part was kind of cool. He turns into some crazy looking dragon. So I thought that was kind of cool. The artwork in this moment was actually really cool. His little dragon there.
Yeah, it just really shows how showing up off his power frame and what exactly he has. That's a really cool moment.
Right, and to think that he's still linked with all the Justice League and all that stuff. So he's got there's a whole lot of depth going on here with him. I think if they got anything right in this book, I think they got Martian Manhunter right.
Yeah, I think so. They nailed him.
Yeah.
They nailed him, yeah.
So now we finally, at this point, we see who is in charge of these Neanderthals. And it is none other than Vandal Savage. And, he explains to them, because we've got the Neanderthals and they're saying, we've lost the moon. You're supposed to be our leader, kind of a thing. And he's like, hey, chill out, because I saved you from extinction and I protected you for a millennia. So
and you see the moon blow up.
Yeah. I didn't see that. Such a small panel there, but I didn't see that.
Yeah, that's the first time that I really noticed.
Oh my gosh, so I guess they blew up the entire moon, because that's what it looks like.
That's no moon.
Oh man, that's almost like blowing up the sun. Like, we're not gonna survive. The moon is there for a purpose. I don't know, whatever. So now we hear a voice off panel, and it's none other than Lex Luthor. And just as quickly as Lex Luthor came in, he subdues Vandal Savage. This is something that not a lot of people have been able to do. Not a lot of people have been able to subdue Vandal Savage, and he does it within seconds.
No, this is though. Getting back to Lex Luthor, this is the Lex Luthor that I wanted. This is the evil Lex Luthor. Right. Lex Luthor thinks he's a hero. He even says he's a hero. I don't really understand, they keep throwing around this word justice. Around like it's a verb. Yeah, I don't know.
I do agree.
I don't know.
I do like this Lex Luthor here, because he believes that he is a hero, but he's going to do it the way he believes in it. And it's not really, he kills people. He's just there. He's a means to an end. He finds a means to an end, and whatever he's going to get it however he feels. So it's his own brand of justice, I guess.
Yes, I guess.
Okay, in this next panel, this is where we see, that scene where John Jones and his wife and daughter are on Mars. And, this is kind of a cool, I think this was a little bit cooler, because they talk about how they need to disconnect from all other Martians so that they can survive. And the artwork in this moment is really awesome. I really like the artwork. And then the very last panel, it shows, and it's kind of an awful scene panel here. And you see his daughter kind of inflamed and burning up, and him losing his family. but this artwork in this moment was actually really awesome. The look of the Martians, that whole emotion that you feel when you read that is you can feel John Jones in this moment.
And this is part of characterization. This
Right.
is part of who the Martian Manhunter is, and they have to show this flashback to have you see what he's going through, see what he's a flawed person because of this reason.
Right, right, and it makes you feel that, which is kind of cool. I did like that part there. So now another really cool part, and it shows you again how powerful he really is here in this moment, because he brings the Justice League into a mental boardroom. So they're all sitting at the table. There's a symbol on the table, and they're all sitting around. And he brings them into there, and he's like, I saw something bigger than Vandal Savage's plan. And he talks to them about the comet that's trajectory is heading straight towards Earth, and he says it's got 3 minutes to impact.
And they don't know what it is.
No.
They know it's since the source wall was broken, that this flare, this energy is coming out of the source wall. So they're debating whether they should stop it or not.
Right, and they still and they think that they're contemplating. Okay, is this gonna since the multiverse is dying, is this gonna help and help the multiverse live? And that was at one point where it was like, where did they come up with that idea?
Yeah, that sounds a little crazy.
Right. I was like, where did they come up with this idea that something's going to collide with Earth and it's going to help the multiverse from dying? Especially that they don't know what it is. Now, if we know, we kind of have an insight of what it is, because this thing has gone through different time, states of time.
Which that's the part. There at the beginning. That's the part that doesn't fly with me 100%, because okay, if the source wall was just broken, from Dark Knight's metal,
right?
How are we seeing it so many thousands of years ago?
Right. If the source wall broke here in this time
recently, what does that mean exactly? I don't know if that's something they're going to touch on in the future, but if somebody knows and to explain it to us, I'd be happy to hear it.
Right. Right. Just I don't know. It's very odd. So they sit and contemplate this, and then there's a moment where Vic gets read on it, and he's like, it's sending some kind of code. It's mathematical but architectural. And then he draws 3 lines in the air. So this is another thing where I was like, I don't understand that. What does this mean? I guess I can see what Scott Snyder's kind of doing here in this moment, but still, it's
overly complicated.
Right. That's exactly what I'm thinking too. So now we move on, and we're back with Lex Luthor and Vandal Savage and all the Neanderthals, and Lex has got Vandal Savage subdued, and they're talking back and forth, and now, just like, and I told you about this the other, just like in the Minions movie. And sorry, I got a 7-year-old. I watch a lot of cartoons. so in just like in the Minions movie, when one big bad is not big and bad anymore, they go on to the next. So that's what these, at least simple-minded, creatures here, they want to follow Lex Luthor now, and they call him Luthor. So now they're talking about how they want to follow him because Vandal Savage has, he lost his power now. So, but what does Lex Luthor do? He drops them in a trapdoor. So
into who knows what. They're done.
Right, they're gone. We don't know.
Don't think that they're alive. They're done. This is Lex Luthor isn't the one we've seen lately, you know, that called himself Superman. This is old Lex.
Right, he's even got a different symbol on his chest. It's no longer that S, and he's not, you know, so. So, and this was another cool thing. We moved to another scene now, and once you get into the story a little bit more, the scenes kind of go quickly a little bit more towards the end of the book. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I think so. It kind of flowed more smoothly.
Yeah, so I noticed that it was going a little bit faster there once the story kind of got legs there. So now we see Jon Stewart here, and this was one of those moments where I was like, all right, you guys what is this about? Because they say, you know, Jon Stewart has this huge gun, and it's like super complicated, and not only is his gun complicated to shoot one bullet, the bullet has to be complicated too, right? So
yeah, that's where your callback from Dark Knight's metal. It's using the 10th metal,
right,
and
it says it's a miniaturized omniversal wormhole encased in 10th metal.
Yeah, and Joey is going to explain to you right now what that exactly means. Go ahead.
Yeah. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't either, and I read metal. I don't know what it means.
Oh man, I think Scott Snyder's the only one who knows what it means. Maybe he doesn't either. So I don't know.
I think it's just meant to sound cool.
Yeah,
it does sound cool. It's like really strong, and it would destroy that little beam of light
like
or whatever
really,
it
really
is.
Strong.
Yeah, it's really, really strong. Basically, that's all you need to know.
Right. So now he's waiting to shoot this bullet towards what John Jones calls the totality. So, but what does the Justice League do? They continue contemplating
whether to let this totality hit.
Correct.
Which they didn't have me up there. If they would have had me up there, I would say, okay, you want to let this hit Earth, and you think that's a good thing.
I mean, these are the people who just blew up the moon.
Batman, wake up! Seriously.
So, and then now here we go again. We flip the scenes, and we see Lex Luthor and Vandal Savage again, but this time he's introduced some of his friends. Can you go ahead and give us a little roll call of who he introduces here?
Oh yes, you have Gorilla Grodd, the Flash villain, Sinestro, Green Lantern villain, the Joker, and this is the Joker. This is classic Joker to me. This isn't crazy, says all kinds of crazy stuff Joker. He's still crazy, but
right.
He's a very smart Joker. Then we have Black Manta and Cheetah, and then you see where they're at, actually, in the Legion of Doom's headquarters from Super Friends.
There you go.
It looks like Darth Vader's helmet, basically.
Right.
The very top of it.
Uh-huh. So me and my son, we were actually playing Lego Batman 3, and they have this headquarters in there, which is kind of cool. That's the level we left off.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
So the Legion of Doom is here. That's I'm sure a lot of people were excited about that. I'm sure maybe some people are just like, not happening kind of thing.
And really, this isn't a surprise because we saw this picture leaked a few weeks ago. So it's not. I didn't know if that picture was going to be in this particular issue, but you knew that spread was coming. Which, it would have been so much cooler if they wouldn't have spoiled that ahead of time.
I didn't see it, so I was kind of excited about it when I did see this. So I got that excitement in my loins, I guess.
Okay.
So
that says a lot about you there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So now we go back to the debilitating table, I guess. I don't know what I want to call this. the deliberating table. Maybe I was right the first time. So they, the Justice League, are still contemplating on whether or not they should let John Stewart shoot this thing. There's a whole lot of dialogue there, but I'm not gonna go into it. But what I am gonna do is I'm gonna jump right into what Lex Luthor does. Will you give us a quick little explanation of what he does here?
Well, Joe, Lex Luthor basically sentenced Vandal Savage to death.
Right.
And he apparently has a doorknob, very similar to the ones that had a symbol that was in the Hall of Justice. And he beats him to death, supposedly, with this doorknob.
Right.
It's probably made of, who knows, 13th or 14th metal. And when that happens, I guess everything that, Vandal Savage was keeping secret, things that he knew about what this totality is, or
right,
it goes right into John's head.
Right. This is that thing. I was like, what the heck is in his hand, and how is he killing Vandal Savage? I thought Vandal Savage was immortal. I need to know more. I need to know what's going on with this doorknob.
Yeah, he's not dead forever, really.
Yeah. And then as this happens, John Jones breaks his connection with the Justice League, and he sees and we got another few, like 5 or 6 panels here, and we see him glimpse into the future, maybe a little bit of the past. We're not too sure about this here. You see, it looks like there's an arm. It looks like Lex Luthor's arm choking somebody out.
Yeah, it looks like, almost looks like Adam Strange type of
right
gear.
Kind of.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So, so we see that here. We see a few different things there, and it looks like, I'm not sure if that's the totality in that last panel there.
It looks like an eyeball or somebody smiling or something.
It's some kind of shape in there, though, which was kind of
evil laughter.
Because then we see in the next panel here a kind of face-looking thing. It almost looks like made out of so. I don't know what this thing is. What is it? So I need to know more. Now he goes back into the boardroom, and everybody's gone. And I thought this was kind of, after reading it and after talking to you the other day, I thought that this was actually kind of a powerful panel. If nothing else in this story was really kind of powerful, I thought this one panel was powerful. Only because he's psychically linking every single one of the Justice League members, so he can bring them in and out as he pleases. So when he goes back to the boardroom, he brings them back, but it's completely empty and it's just him. This kind of gives you a little bit of feeling of what he kind of feels, what he's been feeling. He's been feeling kind of lonely because of his family and things of that nature. So I thought that was kind of that one powerful thing. I was like, okay, I get what they're doing here, because he could just bring them in. I don't understand why he didn't bring them in, but now I kind of got it. I thought that was kind of cool. What'd you think?
Yeah, that was kind of neat. I think his link to them sort of went away when, those future or past memories or visions kind of went into his head, and then he realized they were all gone.
Right. Right. So, and then you see Lex Luthor here, and he's like, and in that moment he knew the lines in that signal might very well point away from justice, and instead point downward to a word that sounded a lot more like doom. And then you got
doom.
Lex Luthor. You got Lex Luthor counting down. He's like, "Oh, John, here Here we go. 3, 2, 1. So, I don't know what that means.
I have a distinct feeling that this energy, this totality, whatever it is, that they built this base headquarters for a reason, and it might go right into it, whatever energy, whatever it is, and try to, I don't know, harness it somehow.
Right. Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't have any idea.
I'd like to see what they're going to do with this. What would you give this as a rating?
A rating, I'm going to give this a 7.5.
Okay. I'm exactly right there with you. 7.5.
I've read this, I don't know how many times, probably at least 6 times.
Right.
I liked a bunch of the callbacks. I like seeing some of the heroes, even though it was like in panels. I love seeing the villains. I love seeing the Hall of Justice. I'm very interested to see how this goes. The biggest thing that you got to know when you read Scott Snyder is some of the things are going to be overcomplicated. You can't spend too much time, delving into, hey, does this make sense? What is this? What are these words? What is this? What is that? It's going to be overcomplicated. You sort of just have to brush over some of it sometimes.
And not a lot of people like that.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah. So that I'm right there with you. 7.5. And I think that for me, that's only because I didn't understand some of the callbacks because I was absent for so long from comic books. But now reading it, like you said, 6, 7, 8 times or however many times I've read it, I understand it more and more each time, and I see what's going on here. So, but if you're just like an average reader, you just read your book 1 or 2 times and then you put it back into your collection. This may not be such a high rating for you, but I did like the artwork. A lot of the dialogue was actually pretty good. Colors were amazing. All these colorists nowadays, they are really awesome. I don't think I've ever got a problem with any of the colorists any nowadays. But
no, not too much.
I think all in all, I think 7.5. I think that's a good enough rating for me.
Sounds good.
All right. So, all right. Do you want to go ahead and get into our favorite book of the week here? Batman number 48.
Okay, we can do that. Okay, so Batman number 48. It's written by Tom King. Art and cover by Mikhail Janin. June Chung on colors. Clayton Cowles on letters. And it's the beginning of the road to the wedding. Batman and Catwoman get married. The Bat and the Cat, as you might say.
Right.
And it is a cool looking cover. You have the Joker with a cane, a jester cane, hitting a chessboard and breaking up the chessboard, and you got Batman and Catwoman as chess pieces. So as we get in this, you see that the Joker is taken over a church, and you see there's a guy that's praying about the bad man. Hope he doesn't come to him, and Joker's been killing everybody. And basically, there's a scene there after that where he kills the last guy. He sings the Batman 66 song. Na 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 na.
Oh man,
Batman. What'd you think about that right there?
Oh, that is how I just don't understand that part. It's like, I guess I see what Tom King's doing, because Tom King just likes to throw back to older Batman, like in the last couple of books that Tom King did, he in The Gift, he gave us a little throwback to Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, right?
Yeah, with the costume.
So now, right, with her costume and the way it looked like it was just like stitched together and things of that nature. And then now we've got this one here, and he's doing like this Batman 66. I just don't understand how Joker would know about that, or what he would. I don't understand.
How the Justice League threw in their throwbacks that I really enjoyed. This isn't a throwback that I enjoyed. This is just, I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me while that's in there. I know it's trying to be humorous and trying to be funny, but it's a throwback that didn't really work for me. And
right,
Batman,
it was a little off.
Go ahead.
It was a little off.
Yeah, so Batman comes crashing through the window, and Joker has a hostage, and he says this throughout. Some repeated dialogue of, "You move not even 1 inch, not even one teeny weeny inch. Teeny tiny inch." And then he accidentally shoots his hostage, who was the bride, and he said this was the only way that he could contact him. He didn't know how to get a hold of him. He didn't know what to do to try to get Batman's attention. And this was the way, by taking, going into a church, because he's heard Batman's getting married from some source.
Right.
And Batman doesn't say a lot in this book.
At all. It's mostly Joker speaking, and it's a lot of dialogue here.
I don't even know if there's a word.
I don't know. I'm not too sure.
I don't even see
I'm flipping through, and I'm not seeing much.
I don't see one word. Really,
wow, I didn't even notice that till.
That's crazy to me. So, in the midst of all this, Joker takes Batman hostage, put the gun to his head. Batman doesn't even try to defend that. Doesn't even try to take the gun away from Joker. Nothing. None of his skills and training. Nothing.
Right.
And then he shoots Batman in the head. He survives. Again, Batman doesn't say one word. You have the Joker doing all the talking, and the Joker, there is some cool dialogue in here with the Joker, but it's a crazy, like, Heath Ledger type Joker.
I don't understand why Batman would even, care that he's even putting a gun to his head. What mentality does he have behind him holding the gun to his own head? This Joker is completely off. I don't like the Joker that I'm used to. Is he's very calculated. He knows he's 1, 2, 3 steps ahead of Batman. Even the Heath Ledger Joker, he was tons of steps ahead of Batman, and Batman could never catch up. And it seems to me that this Joker here is the one who's behind, and he can't catch up, and he's just so, like, desperate to you know what it makes me think? It makes me wonder if he's, since him and Batman have been going back and forth for so many years, that he's jealous because he hears Batman is getting married and Batman's not going to have enough time for him. So he's just going absolutely crazy, like kind of like an old girlfriend who doesn't want to be an ex-girlfriend. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't have any idea that's possible. It just the Joker that we saw in a couple panels of Justice League doesn't seem like this is the same Joker. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Doesn't seem like this guy would be a team player.
Right. And we in the Justice League we just saw him say maybe 3 or 4 word bubbles, and it wasn't too much, and we saw exactly who he was. And this one you got so much dialogue, and you're just like, who is this Joker? I don't know. I'm not a fan of Tom King's writing.
Yeah, I can't say I'm a fan either. Every new issue, I try to keep an open mind about it. I try to go into it not thinking about what came before, to see maybe I'll enjoy this one. Maybe there won't be something that's totally out of character for Batman or anything like that. But you even get the scene where Joker has, you know, the gun on himself. Batman doesn't try anything. He just obeys the Joker, like he's in a trance.
Kneeling. They're kneeling together. You know, he tells them to say a prayer, and you know, Batman's hands are very like within inches from Joker's hands. Batman he is highly trained, and he can't subdue him. He can't take the gun away. Nothing. He can't. This moment right here, where these two panels, where they're very close, 3 panels, just before what happens, I don't understand what. I just don't get how he's not gonna subdue him.
Or let him kill himself. I know he has a code. I know that, but I just don't understand. He doesn't say one word in this. Batman doesn't say one word in this book.
Oh no, he does. He says amen.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. One word. He says one word.
Just before boom.
Yeah, and then there's a bomb goes off. Joker planted a bomb in there, and he proceeds to go shoot him in the head, which you don't see him. I don't know if he's just playing games, is shooting him in the cowl again, and that sort of thing. I don't know what his goal is. What do you had mentioned something about he doesn't think he's going to get enough attention.
Right.
I mean, the Joker, especially if you go back to The Dark Knight Returns, the only reason the Joker is, you know, has any passion or anything, it's because of Batman. If Batman's not around anymore, I don't know if he would have a reason to do whatever he does. I'm just not sure. And Catwoman, it looks like, is coming in to save the day at the end, and it's next issue. This is right before the wedding.
Yeah, we got one more issue before they hit number 50.
Yeah, one more issue, and we hit number 50.
And it says this is part 1 of the Best Man, so.
So I assume it's 2-issue arc, and.
Right. It's, I don't understand where they're going with this little. I understand that, you know, Joker, he wants to be involved somehow with the wedding. If he's just creating chaos before the wedding, I mean, okay, but I don't get this.
The one thing that I assumed it was a Bruce Wayne Selina Kyle wedding.
Right.
That's what I would assume. That's what everybody would think. But in one of the prelude issues, it says in there, this is not a Bruce Wayne Selina Kyle. It's a Batman and Catwoman wedding.
Right, and especially when we see, you know, Catwoman was breaking into that dress shop, trying on dresses and putting it on. Even in Robin versus Ra's al Ghul, you know, they were taking Damian to go get fitted. It's like they're doing all these things, but they're not going to wear their.
But why would Damian need to get fitted if it was just going to be Batman standing up there on the cowl with Catwoman?
Exactly.
And then all of his villains were going to crash the wedding, because that's what it looks like. There's a cover where all his villains looks like he's crashing the wedding, and.
Of course, we're going to get that. That's the only reason that they.
The biggest thing with all this in this entire run, the first couple arcs I kind of enjoyed, but the fun is just drained out of this book. It's just not fun for me.
They've stretched it out way too long, I think.
I've seen 2 characters that Joker is very. A lot of people treat Joker differently. I'm not.
Right.
I don't know what the thing with him taking himself hostage and then making Batman do different things. I don't. You know, he could have got out of that. Batman could have got out of that situation in like 30 seconds.
Right. It's almost like Batman feels sorry for him because he knows what he's going through. He's like, hey, you're not the biggest thing in my life anymore, buddy. It's like, it's just so weird to me.
Yeah. So as far as a rating goes, I gave this a 6. And it's
Okay.
mostly purely on art. I thought the art is fantastic. I
Right.
did like some of the Joker stuff. Mostly the dialogue seemed to be a lot better. I mean, he does crazy. I just don't like what he's doing, like, taking Batman hostage, taking himself hostage. That didn't seem... It's more of Batman's actions in this book, or non-action,
Right.
because he does everything the Joker wants him to do. He doesn't say one word except for that one word, and I don't know. I give it a 6. I did not enjoy it very much.
See, I think I'm going a little bit lower than you this time. I think I'm gonna be like in between a 5 and a 5.5, just because it was just really hard to read. It was mostly just Joker speaking and feeling like a jealous ex-girlfriend, and I don't know. To me, it was a little rough to get through. And all Tom King stuff to me is just a little rough to get through. I know there's some people out there who just love him, and they say, I think you even mentioned this to me, that they think it's fresh and new, and this is a good direction for Batman, and it's just nobody's ever been able to like transform Batman and Catwoman into what they're doing, what he's doing. But for me, this is not my favorite Batman. So I mean,
No, definitely not.
Hey, I'm not a writer. I'm not an artist. I'm not writing comic books. So I guess he's doing something like right. I guess So, but I'm gonna give it a 5.5. That's where I'm at.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, we are going to be. My next book is kind of a downer too. We've got Man of Steel #2, written by Brian Michael Bendis, and we've got 3 different artists on this one. We've got Doc Shaner on pages 1 through 13. We got Jay Fabok 14 and 15, and Steve Rude 16 through 24. And we got colors by Alex Sinclair. And the price is $3.99. So in this issue, we kind of get like an insight into the past a little bit, because now we see Krypton is no more, and we move on and we see that one of the members of the Circle is confronting Appa Aliapsa, and they believe that him and Rogol-Zar are in cahoots. So Lord Gandello confronts Appa concerning the Krypton's demise. So, and they kind of go back and forth here a little bit, and talk about you went to go see Rogol-Zar, and then now Krypton was okay, everything was good, and then now Krypton is gone, kind of thing. You're questioning if he had anything to do with this. He denies it.
I would hope he didn't. I would hope
Right.
they leave the origin the way it is, and not add a new.
Right. They're definitely he's playing with us a little bit here. So, he's not really changing the origin. He's just kind of, I guess, adding to it, or giving us insight to what he believed what could have happened. Who knows? But so, and it's not entirely clear whether or not one of the Guardians of the Green Lantern Corps is involved. It's not very clear. So now we see Appa, and he's on Rogol-Zar's refuge planet, and Rogol-Zar is nowhere to be seen. So, so we see him kind of searching that planet and looking around, and kind of, wondering, I don't know, the way he's speaking to himself makes it seem as if he has nothing to do with it, because he asks, did you die, with your final sin, kind of a thing. So we don't. It kind of seems as if he didn't have anything to do with it. So now we kind of fast forward a little bit to present time, and we see Trish Q, which is the gossip columnist at the Daily Planet, and I'm sure she's on her phone, kind of distracted a little bit here, and Robinson Good, the new kid on the block here, is kind of talking to her, and she kind of gets dissed by Trish Q a little bit there, and she's like, who are you? What's your name now? Like, I don't know you, kind of thing. And there's some catty banter going on between them. So that's kind of what we see here a little bit. And now we kind of switch scenes here, and we see that there's a big mechanized toy terrorizing Coast City, and Superman swoops in, and he tears the cockpit open, and guess who's inside? Our favorite villain,
the Toyman.
Right, so we see Toyman inside, and I don't know, when I read this part here, it seemed like he was just like the most sorriest villain, because you see him throw some bug-like toys at Superman, and Superman just kind of brushes them off like pesky insects. How did you feel when you saw this?
I wasn't surprised, because the Toyman shows up. To me, it seems like he shows up a lot. He's always. But yeah, this seems like it is interesting to see some of the toys he had.
Yeah.
Had a Rubik's Cube and bag of Oops chips. You don't get that.
I see that there.
That physique by
working out.
Yeah. And Pritz, there's another bag up there that says Pritz bad for you. Whatever that's
funny. That's funny.
So I was okay with the scene. It's showing Superman being super. Toyman, as always, he's not usually a big threat.
Yeah, right. I get. Yep, that's one thing that it definitely showed us here. So now we see Green Lantern, and he swoops on in, and Superman kind of gives Green Lantern gives Superman the third degree about not showing up to the dinner plans that they agreed to the last week, and not showing up to, I guess, the Justice League meeting that morning. And this kind of, that's not really in who Superman is. Superman's not one to kind of blow people off, right? So
not usually, no.
Right, so you see, Green Lantern's kind of, concerned. He's like, hey, what's going on with you? Is everything all right? I heard the rumors, and Superman kind of cuts him off, or gets cut, or he gets cut off by I think he gets cut off by Toyman or something, because Green Lantern kind of encases Toyman in a soundproof bubble, and they're just like talking, and he's like, I heard rumors, and then he's like, everything's okay. He's all, but I heard, and he's like, well, see you later, kind of thing, and he flies off, and he leaves Toyman with Green Lantern. So we get this idea that Superman's keeping some kind of secret, or he's avoiding some kind of conversation of what's going on that we still don't understand.
Yeah, we're still in the dark about that, which is the big mystery about Lois and John.
Mm-hmm. Right. And here's if this book isn't shrouded in mystery, here's another piece here, because now we get that last page from issue number 1 back here in issue number 2, where we see John, Lois, and Clark, and there's that bright white light, and we finally see what this bright white light is. But it almost looks like a face, maybe a ship of some sort. I still don't know. It's still a mystery to me, and it's very odd here.
No,
So,
and I
but
don't
then
know I have no idea what that is.
it's weird. It almost looks like a face. I don't know. It's weird. So, but then we see, the next panels we see, with a Foom, we see Superman. He flies off to the moon, and something blows up inside of a crater. The smoke clears, and you see that Superman is inside this crater.
I mean, did he take whatever that was and fly it to the moon and then kind of blew it up, or?
Yeah, I don't know. It's very, you don't really understand what's going on here in this moment. But I guess my two books, I guess they're obsessed with blowing stuff up on the moon, huh?
It seems that way.
So, and then these next couple panels, we get to see one of your favorite characters here.
The Amish bug, yes.
Yes. So he shows up here. He's juggling. He's in one of these alien bars because we are at the far end of the Vega system now.
And he's not just juggling. He's juggling a Rubik's Cube, a bomb that's apparently lit.
Uh-huh.
And two other things that looks like maybe a bat or a squirrel.
Yeah, the other one looks like some weird alien. I don't know what that is. It's very weird looking. But yeah, so he's juggling. A man of many talents, right? So I did a little research because I thought when you brought him up to me, and I was like, well, I want to research this guy a little bit. So he was created by Keith Giffen. He first appeared in DC Comics Presents number 52 in 1982, and he would appear in several other Superman-related books. In 2001, he had his first appearance as a part of a group called the Justice League of Anarchy, which included Plastic Man, Creeper, Harley Quinn, Amazing Man, and the Trickster. And
that
then
sounds awesome.
And he appeared in many more titles until 2012, and I believe he was in the back pages of the New 52 as a news reporter. So I think he was kind of like a little joke there. People kind of throw him in here and there, in their books just to kind of give you a little. I don't know. That's kind of cool that he shows up here. So now we are in this bar in the Vega system, and we got a shadowy figure, and he orders a drink, and he notices behind the bar they've got a bust of a head and a necklace that has, it looks like the Superman symbol there, the symbol of hope, and he sees it and asks about it, and they're like, oh yeah, this is it belongs to a man named Superman. And he's like, you see his reflection in there, and he's pretty gruesome, creepy looking. And then, now we switch back to Superman. And Superman is, he comes in to save the day, and there's more fires throughout the city, and he saves more people. But guess what he saves the people with? He saves them with, one of those blow-up wiggly guys that you see outside of a car dealership. Those ones that blow around.
Yeah.
But my thing was, he grabbed several of those things, right? But those things, those things are pretty. They're probably like 12 inches wide, maybe. How is one person going to slide down that thing like a slide? Because in one of these panels, it looks like they're stretched out pretty wide there, for many people to be sliding down. So I don't know how that works out. So he saves these people, pushes a handful out of the way of some falling debris, and he saves the day. Right now we're back at the Daily Planet, and we see a very distraught Perry White. Superman's coming in, and Perry White's just so distraught, and he's like, he's complaining about, how anybody with a cell phone, is is putting him out of business. Live TV's putting him out of business and things of that nature. And he confides in Clark, and he tells him, I think we've been sold. So we see that, and this was one of my favorite panels of this whole entire run here, where we see, this older, silhouette of Perry White, and then the very bottom you see Perry White through the years. He's young and we got 4 of those little mini panels.
You got a typewriter, and then it goes to an IBM, and then a laptop.
Which is pretty cool, and along with his technology aging, he ages as well, and I think it's really cool. So that we get this idea of running that, through the ages, everything was pretty easy, and now it's just getting so difficult and complicated, and their newspaper's on the verge of failing, I guess. Then we get Trish Q coming in, right? And she interrupts their conversation, and all she wants to do is get the big scoop of what's going on between Clark and Lois Lane. And she won't let it go. She keeps badgering and pushing it, and she's like, "We're sitting on the biggest story right here. We got to get this out of Clark." As they see on the big screen, Green Lantern is fighting a villain. And, what happens when Clark sees something like this for the first time? He goes into Superman mode, and he gets out of there very quickly. And Trish turns around, and she's like, "Hey, where did Clark go?" And he's like, "You were super annoying." Of course he was going to leave.
You drove him
that's
away.
What you did. Yeah, you drove him away. You're annoying him, so he left. And then we finally see who our shadowy figure was. It was Lobo. Oh wait, no, that's not Lobo. That's Rogolzar. Because he looks like he's on a space motorcycle, and he's flying through the solar system.
Lobo, probably.
He's. It is very reminiscent of Lobo's motorcycle. So, this issue, I did like the artwork. This is like the umpteenth time that I've read it, and I understand it more and more each time. But the very first time that I read it, I was like, "Oh my gosh, what the heck did I read?" I think I gave my rating of this one maybe like the 3rd time that I read it, and I think first time I think I gave it like a 5. It jumped up since I read it many different times, because now I understand it a little bit more. But the first time I was so confused at what was going on, because they jump back and forth. That scene where we finally see what the heck that bright light was, I still don't understand what it was. But now reading it many different times, I get this idea of, could it be a flashback, and Superman is just thinking back to that time where this instant happened, and did
it
John
is a flashback. They're jumping back and forth in time, so it's definitely a flashback.
Right. But in this flashback, did you get the idea that, maybe John and Lois are missing?
I'm not quite sure. Something has happened. If they're missing, I don't even have a guess of what it is at this point. They just don't give you enough.
Uh-huh.
And I know this is a 4-issue mini, so I guess they'll give you bits and pieces, so it's revealed at the very end, and then it's like Action Superman's going to basically be launched out of this.
Right. They've only got 2 issues to give us those answers, though.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed this book. Yeah. There was a lot of things going on, but I enjoyed it. I liked where the story's going. Yeah, you would like to get some more answers about what's going on with Lois and John, but that's coming.
Yeah, I really hope so. I really hope that we get the answers that I'm seeking. Because right now I'm super confused, because I'm under the impression that they may be missing, that's just kind of like a callback to what had happened, so I want answers. I want answers.
I don't know if they're missing, because the way that Perry White had mentioned, maybe it was last issue, that that Lois doesn't work here anymore.
Right.
It didn't sound like maybe she was missing, but I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't know. Right. And it's just people act so differently about the whole situation. Yeah. It's very. I want to know what the secret is that Superman is keeping that he doesn't want to talk about. Something there's a touchy situation there somewhere. So what would you rate this?
Yeah. If I had to give it a rating, I'd give it 7.5.
7.5? Okay.
Really enjoyed it. It didn't seem to me that I noticed the different artists as much as I usually do in a book.
Right.
That have several different artists, so I'm enjoying the story. I love to see the Daily Planet. I love to see Clark Kent at the Daily Planet.
Right.
I'm actually interested in this villain. I hope he didn't cause, Krypton to blow up.
Because
it'll be interesting.
You almost get this feeling that he's heading over to Earth because he's like, I didn't finish the job. They're not all gone, so I gotta go finish this job. So, for me, I think I'm gonna go a 6.5, maybe a 7. A 7. You know what? Let's call it a 7 because, like I said, I did like the artwork. Colors are always amazing. I don't think I ever, like I said, last few books, I don't ever have any problems with any of the colorists. I think they're all pretty good.
Right.
But the artwork, I didn't really notice it as much. Now that I'm reading it multiple times, I do see a difference. But when I first read it, I don't see the difference very much. That didn't really bother me. I know some people out there that's probably one of the biggest things that was a put off for them. If it wasn't Brian Michael Bendis's wordy dialogue that put him off, it was definitely the artwork. But for me, it was actually okay. I did get kind of confused a little bit there, but all in all, it was actually a pretty good read. So yeah, I think this would probably be my pick of the week if I was gonna pick a book. This will be my pick. So.
Wow. So you liked it better than Justice League?
Yeah. Well, I mean, only because I didn't really know too much of the callbacks in Justice League, that they were referencing to. I didn't know too much.
Yeah.
I think if I knew a little bit more about that stuff that they talked about, I think Justice League would probably be my pick of the week. But I think where this story is going, and there's so much mystery shrouded around this issue and these last two issues, I think it's intrigued me enough to have this as my pick. So.
Okay.
I think because I really want those answers. So. Justice League, I'm excited to see what happens in issue 2, but right now I'm ready for issue 3 of Man of Steel. I want to know what's gonna happen with that. So.
Very good.
All right. What else you got for us?
So I don't really have any books that I'm really reviewing, but it's just a couple shout-outs to a couple things that I read in Marvel this week. And with this fresh start, we had some new number 1s that came out.
Uh-huh.
And I enjoyed all the 3 that I read. I enjoyed all 3.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you had read them or not. One was the Mortal Hulk.
Yeah, that one was actually really good. I read that one.
Yeah, long time Hulk fan. I really enjoyed that one. It's great to see Bruce Banner back.
Right.
Pick that one up. Really, that's a good one. The other one was Doctor Strange, who I was a little skeptical about because of the previous run was very good, and this was being taken over by Mark Waid.
Okay.
And it's a really good jumping on point. Did you get a chance to read that?
I did not get to read any other Marvel books this week.
you don't really need to know any background really about. You read this book. You never read Doctor Strange before. You don't really need to know too much background about it.
Okay.
But it does have a twist there at the ending.
Okay, cool.
It's more a twist in the book, not just the ending, but yeah, I enjoyed that one a lot too. And the other thing, if you are into Deadpool, like the Deadpool movie, you're going to love this new Deadpool #1 because it's the same character from the movie.
Oh, yeah?
Almost exactly the same character from the movie. Even the one character from the movie that's not been in comics before shows up, and I don't know what her name is, about a yard long. She's like super war head person. It's the girl that's a mutant.
Yeah, the mega teenage warhead.
Mega. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
She's in there.
Cool. So I finally got to see Deadpool 2 last night. Have you seen it yet?
Did you enjoy it? I have seen it.
Yeah, I'm not much of a big Deadpool fan. The first one, it was, and I'm gonna give its due. It was good for what they did. Ryan Reynolds did a great job. It was funny. He broke the fourth wall so many times, like Deadpool does. That is Deadpool, right? That's Deadpool. First movie, I liked it. And I kind of didn't like it because there was a few scenes where they just stretched it out. But I get it. That's the joke. That's what they're going for. They did that on purpose. The second movie, I think, was a little bit better than the first. I know people are out there who can definitely argue that. But I liked it. I don't want to say that I liked it, but I did. I liked it.
I like seeing Cable. Some of the Deadpool stuff to me is a little bit over the top. Is not as funny as I think. Right. I think younger people might think that's more funny than I actually do, but the scene where he gets thrown up through the window and he signs his name to a cereal box
and it says Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, that's just kind of dumb to me.
I thought that was kind of funny.
It was funny.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I didn't like the look of Cable. Not to me. I didn't like the look of Cable.
Yeah, Cable.
Sorry, my dog is going crazy. Hey, shh, that's enough. Sorry, guys. My dog is nuts. That's why I named her Harley Quinn. So, yeah, I have a problem with Josh Brolin sometimes. I didn't like him as Thanos.
Oh, really?
No, I didn't like him as Thanos.
Oh, I loved Avengers. That's probably my favorite movie so far.
I think you'll probably get upset with me, but I think I like Deadpool more than I like the Avengers. I didn't like the Avengers that much.
Wow.
Yeah, it was still good. It was a great movie. Don't get me wrong there, but it didn't excite me as maybe it was because there was so much hype about it, and they just blew it out of proportion. I had so many people talking to me about it that when I finally sat down and watched it, all the excitement was just kind of like a balloon losing its helium.
Well, I tell you what, I didn't know too much about the movie going in. I watched the initial teaser trailer. I didn't watch any of the other trailers because I just sort of wanted to be, a couple years ago when Star Wars came out and they didn't show too much of the trailers.
Okay.
I sort of wanted to go into it like that. Yeah. And I enjoyed it much more not knowing, what all the storylines were going to be. And they ripped that storyline right out of the comics.
Yeah, that's what that's what I heard. That's what I saw too. I guess if in that case it was a better movie than but I don't think it was the best Avengers movie or the best Marvel cinematic movie. again, I think I just had a lot of problems with Thanos. Like, I don't think Josh Brolin was the perfect Thanos for that. I don't think his voice matched the stature of who Thanos is. I don't know.
Okay.
And I thought the same thing for his Cable too. I don't think he matched who Cable's stature either.
Cable was a little off to me for some reason. I couldn't really put a finger on it.
Yeah, it was a different kind of,
But,
kind of.
Everybody has a different opinion. If we all had the same opinion,
Yeah.
there wouldn't be a reason to do a podcast.
Exactly. Exactly. I agree with that.
Because
And not everybody has to
you'd
have.
be just listen to your own opinion would be boring.
Right. And that's all it's about, right? Nobody has to share the same opinion that I do. We don't, back when I was a kid, I used to get so upset at people like why don't you believe the same thing I do? Or, why don't you, well, that's a dumb opinion. But now, it's, hey, that's what opinions are. Opinions, the definition of an opinion is, your own take on it, right? That's nobody has to share my opinion.
Right.
So, yeah, that's it, man. So, all right, I appreciate you coming on, Bill. I appreciate you talking with me about this stuff here.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. You got anything cool coming up?
I'm recording another podcast. Actually, there's a podcast that's going to come out. I think it's episode 12 or 13.
Okay, of your
It's
show?
coming out tomorrow. And that has some interesting books in there.
Cool.
And then we're on every 2-week schedule, so 2 weeks from then.
Awesome. Yeah, I listened to your guys' last show where you guys were talking about the Pacific Rim book, and I recently watched Pacific Rim, the second one, and I liked it. Have you seen it yet?
Oh, okay. No, I haven't.
No. You got to check them out, dude. They're actually I liked it. I enjoyed it.
That's cool.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, so I hope you have a good day. Appreciate you coming on, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, thanks.
All right, we'll see you later.
All right, I appreciate Bill coming on and talking with me about these books and, giving those quick shout-outs about Marvel. Sorry about that we didn't get to talk about our Marvel books as much as we usually do. So this is going to be another episode of MCDC Podcast where we talk about the big two, Marvel and DC. So next time you guys want to hang out with us and listen to us, we're going to be picking up some Marvel books and some DC books. That's what the MCDC stands for. So hopefully you guys will stick around and listen to that. So, and then we also talk about, comic book pop culture news at the end of the show. This week I didn't see too much going on, and we kind of talked about it on the last show. So this week we're not going to have any pop culture news for you guys, but stay tuned for next week. Hope there's a lot coming up, a lot going on in the comic book pop culture news, and we'll see you guys next time. Music for this episode has been provided by Fortress of Graves at www.fortressofgraves.bandcamp.com.